Okay. All right, I will call to order the February 6th, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Education. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Move to approval of the agenda.
Move the Board of Education approve the agenda for the February 6, 2024 meeting.
Any discussion? All in favor? The motion carries 7-0. Move to approval of the minutes from the January 23rd, 2024 regular meeting.
Move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, approve the minutes of the January 23rd, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Education. I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, motion carries 7-0. Move to privilege of the floor. Next up, we have Luke Jeffs. Again, I'm just going to set a timer. You're welcome to come up to the table or lectern, whichever you feel more comfortable with.
At the podium?
Sure, absolutely. I'm just, if you hear the timer, it's just a symbol to wrap up.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Luke Jeffs. I have two daughters in the district, as well as my wife has been a teacher at Rosendale for 20 some odd years. She probably wouldn't like me referencing how long. I'm here tonight because we had an incident early December involving specific death threats against one of my daughters in the middle school. And we alerted the school officials, and the following school day, after confirming a few things with the school, XYZ things that, you know, we felt comfortable sending our daughter back to school, we did. And in a follow-up conversations in a meeting with the principal of the middle schools several days later, everything was okay, nothing happened. Hopefully everybody's getting the help that they need. We had a follow-up conversation with the principal in the middle school, and it seemed that in talking to him that our principals, I think especially in our middle school and maybe our high schools, could use some additional support, specifically looking at dedicated SROs in our school. And that was the opinion I got from speaking to, you know, this one middle school principal, that they could use that support. And there's mental health folks as well, and you know, we definitely need those as well. And I think everybody here and the principal and parents would agree. But specifically, I think that they were looking for dedicated SRO support. So in having that experience and having it kind of hit home, you know, you read about it, you see it in the news, you know, when it actually involves your children, it really hit home for me. And I think in looking, you know, big picture in this community, in this area, I could be wrong, but it's my understanding that we are the only school district in Schenectady County that does not have an SRO, dedicated SRO. So I guess I'm here today to maybe ask, you know, where are we in that decision process? And maybe what can we do as parents to maybe look into that? So I guess we can have continued discussions, but that I just kind of wanted to bring that up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And then next up, we have Ms. Chrissy Harper.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So I wrote it down so that I can stick to your timer.
Sorry.
So I'm Chrissy Harper. I live in the district with my husband and our three daughters. Our kids attend Rosendale School and Iroquois Middle School. I was also a teacher at Craig for many years before I had my kids. So I care deeply about our schools. So first I want to thank all of you for the work that you do on behalf of our students and for our school community. After a recent incident at Iroquois Middle School, and piggyback off of the incident that Luke was talking about, our family has had concerns about the district and its security. In your email box tonight, you're going to find a copy of an email that I wrote to the superintendent. I thank you for your response, and I know you're working on getting back to the specifics of that. In that email, you're going to find specific questions that I have, as well as more details about the incident that took place. So I ask that you please take the time to read that and look forward to a response. My main reason for speaking tonight is that I would like to see student resource officers in our buildings. I'm wondering why we didn't have them. I started reaching out to fellow educators, family members, friends across New York State and even beyond. And I was yet to find one person, one district out of many people that I spoke to that did not have them. The overall response when I spoke to people who have them, especially educators, was overwhelmingly positive about what they add to the school community. Parents and educators felt the same. People who I spoke to were also shocked to hear that Niskayuna does not have them. Who is currently responsible for the buildings to make sure that doors are indeed closed, locked, students are secure, who's monitoring the behavior in the hallways and at the entrances? It does seem negligent at this day and age to not have SROs in each of our buildings, especially when it seems to be the standard in other districts. Further, I have to say, I have a hard time voting yes to budgets when our district doesn't seem to be meeting the standards of today's security measures. I completely understand the need for our renovations. I agree with them and I support them, but at the same time, if our kids are safe, nothing else means anything. And as of today, I can't say that I do feel safe every day sending my kids to school because of the incident that happened in December and then other things that I'm hearing on a daily basis. I feel like our district does have a lot of improvement in this area of safety and security measures. So I would just like to ask that you consider this, consider SROs in our buildings, and please explain to our school community members why we seem to be lagging behind other districts in this area. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And as you said, usually questions, comments, concerns can be addressed either via email, a phone call, or whatever beyond the board table. So I appreciate very much. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Before I report on the items that I had planned for tonight, I just want to thank both parents who took time tonight to come and alert us to their concerns and pose some very thoughtful questions. I'll be sure to share those questions with our leadership team. We also have a district-wide safety committee, and I will be sure to report those concerns to them. We're in a constant state of reviewing our safety and security protocols, and the specific questions and recommendations you've raised have merit to that dialogue. So thank you.
Thank you.
I want to open with some congratulations to our high school science Olympiad team. They performed this past Saturday, and apparently they performed exceptionally well. They were ranked as the #1 team competing in the Capital Region. And get ready for this, they earned medals in 21 out of 22 events.
Wow.
So it was a spectacular day for our science Olympiads, and they now have the opportunity to advance to the state level competitions in March. And for that, they will be traveling to Western New York to do so. So congratulations to Coach Segoyan, Coach Anderson, and our many accomplished science Olympiads, and our high school faculty and staff who helped make that happen. I also want to remind folks of the upcoming capital project referendum. Voting will take place on Tuesday, February 13th at Niskayuna High School. Our polls are open from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. and absentee and early ballot applications are available through our district office. Last week, we wrapped up a total of 6 public information sessions, 1 here at Van Antwerp Middle School and 5 spread across our 5 elementary schools. That was part of a much larger public information campaign that involved a newsletter sent to all residents, the release of one with a second video later this week, videos released over social media highlighting the proposed work, and a postcard that will remind people of the upcoming ballot referendum, and that should hit mailboxes tomorrow or
Today.
Thursday. It did
I
today.
got mine today.
Wonderful. So it's even faster than we thought. I would just like to thank the board for their leadership and support of this work, our communications team, our construction design team, and all of the other partners, including Mr. Leon and our friends at King & King and Turner. I think this is a great opportunity for the district to make continued investment and improvement in our facilities. And we recognize that facilities are just one leg on a stool, and certainly program and safety represent other high priority concerns for the district. Matt, anything to add on that?
No, I think you.
Or questions from the board on the final days here before the polls open?
I have a question about the first thing. The
Yes,
Science Olympiad, will we be providing transportation?
we do. Yep, beginning last year, and at the request of advisors and students and families, we have developed some guidelines for academic level and co-curricular competitions in sanctioned events, and there is a set aside in this year's budget for that purpose. Yes, so progress. Any other questions? The last item I have is just informational in nature. The installation of the stop-arm cameras on our buses are about 85 to 90% complete. So we've had very good success in getting the necessary hardware installed on the buses. Tomorrow, Mr. Leon and I will be meeting with officials from the town and from Bus Patrol, and we will be developing an implementation and communication timeline that will involve lots of public service announcements and other messaging. Will involve a 30-day warning period where people who accidentally pass a stopped bus will be notified that they passed the bus, but without any civil penalty. And hopefully this will be a step toward even safer roadways and bus travel for our students to and from school. So we're looking forward to that meeting tomorrow, right?
And I might be wrong, but I did notice, I think the town has started to put up the signage, the warning signs.
They could very well be. So Bus Patrol has a pretty comprehensive rollout kit. And on the town end, it does involve the installation of signage. On the school end, it's going to be a very comprehensive set of messages going out to faculty, staff, students, and families.
Glad to hear that.
All right, and that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. I have a very short president's report this week. I have not had liaison duties. I had missed a PTO council meeting. For some reason, messages went going into my spam. I don't know. I'll have to work that out with IT, but so that was a missed opportunity, but we are going to connect about some questions they had, and that will be fine. But other than that, I have heard positive things about the messages that have gone out about the capital project referendum. So I was happy to hear that. Folks were pleased with the availability of the tours and the mailer that went home. I have heard just anecdotally that it answered a lot of questions that folks had had. So there was a lot of specifics in there, which I appreciated. That is really all I have today. We'll go on the table this way this week.
Okay, so I had a few liaison meetings since our last Board of Ed regular meeting. One, I went to the safety committee meeting, and I also wanted to report that the Bus Patrol stop arm cameras are happening now. So I think, by the end of February break, we should, hopefully they'll be working then. So that'll be a great improvement in safety for our kids. I went to the Birchwood Elementary School concert as a parent, but it was still great to be there as a board member and see, they're just like Friends of Music is involved, and they have it, they really have it down to a science, and they do such a nice job. And all the kids, the orchestra and the band both get to play and of course things, and it's a really nice event every year. So it's always nice to go to that. I went to the VA PTO meeting last night, and they have a few fundraisers coming up. They have a Brooks barbecue, a Chipotle night, and Blaze pizza night, and also a book fair with an ice cream social. One thing they're doing that's kind of cool is they're doing some cool science experiments in their class for when the eclipse happens. So I thought that was neat to hear. And I'll be going to the Booster Club tomorrow night. And that's it.
I attended a fantastic tour of VA and Iroquois to look at all of the great progress that has been made thus far on improving our facilities for students, staff, and of course, teachers, and all of the great things that are still yet to come, especially at Iroquois. As a former Iroquois student myself, I just cannot even believe the amazing state-of-the-art facilities that these students are about to enjoy, especially in the science rooms. They're just so cool. So congratulations again to the district leadership, and thank you to the community for continuing to fund these initiatives. I also attended a great audit committee meeting where we learned about what great shape we're in and the other very targeted areas of improvement that we're going to continue to work on. Looking forward, just wanted to give a shout out to the Mohawk Meltdown, which is going to be hosted by Niskayuna Friends of Rowing. It's their main fundraiser every year, and it's the Capital District's only indoor rowing competition. It's on March 2nd at Niskayuna High School. And it's a really fun time, and there's a raffle for a free erg if you buy a ticket. And that's it.
My senioritis, I said earlier, I didn't do anything. Not even bring my pay. Meeting's coming up next week.
I attended also the tour of the Iroquois, what's done at Iroquois and what needs to be done here. I also attended the town hall and an elementary walkthrough. I went to Rosendale. Both were met with really great questions from the community. I think people left both of them much more informed than when they came in. So thank you to everybody who put those on very much. And then I attended a couple of PTO events where my kids attended without me because I'm not cool enough to be there anymore. But just a quick shout out to all the parents and the people who do all of those extra PTOs, Friends of Music, like you said. They just do such a nice job, and they make our kids want to come back to school on Friday nights. So thank you for all the extra that everyone does to enhance the community.
I was just watching our students when you said come back to school on Friday nights. Just checking. Just a quick reality check.
Mine do.
Not to put you on the spot.
Okay, it was a quiet couple of weeks for me because of just some things that were going on personal life. That I missed a couple of meetings and tours, but I'm pleased that the feedback on the capital project is so positive. I keep reminding people that we're getting 68% reimbursement, that this is the best way to fund something where we're only paying for this much and we're borrowing this much. So I even got my family to understand that, so that was a good thing. I do have some meetings coming up this week. We're back on the bandwagon. I do have a request for all of my peers on the board. We're looking at a fundraising policy. Do we need a fundraising policy? Do we not? What are we fundraising? What are we fundraising for? What are the guidelines? So if you think of any or realize any fundraising opportunities that are going on within your schools that your PTO liaison to, or that your kids are on, Sarah just talked about the Mohawk Meltdown. If you could just shoot me some details about it. Who's sponsoring it? What's it for? I mean, are they raising money for uniforms? Are they raising money to provide transportation, scholarships, whatever? So we can sit back and take a look. Do we need something? Do we not need something? How high up should it be? Does it need to be in the weeds? Just so we can have a fair, balanced policy. Should we need Howard was questioning if we even needed one. Throw you under the bus. Are these things that the district should pay for or not? So shoot me the information so we can take a look at it and try to figure out where we need to land. And that's it.
Well, thank you, first of all, for doing the policy committee. It's a lot of work. So appreciate the work.
Oh, can you mention the musical? I forgot to.
You go ahead.
The musical's coming up. Don't forget to buy your tickets. We're so excited. We can all go to the board and support our students. Can't wait to see you guys up on stage. Now you can.
Since I was just praising you, I guess that doesn't count as my report anyway, right? So now I'm starting my report.
Now we'll start your.
So I also didn't have too many liaison meetings. Enjoyed the tour of the two middle schools and just fascinating how much has been done at Iroquois and you know, obviously just like you said, the science buildings look amazing. And obviously all the places we needed here in Van Antwerp, and I think people in this room may already know, but not may, they already know, but our tour through Van Antwerp really made it clear to me how badly we need to improve this building and how, you know, there can be like 3 or 4 levels within a few feet of each other, none of them connected by ramps. So we really need to do a better job at improving this, the building here. The audit committee, you know, that's something that went very well. We had a new person join us, community member, and he seems like a great addition to the team. Our internal auditor is going to especially be looking at the self-insurance plan and make sure that we're doing right there, the self-insurance health plan and self-insured health plan. So, you know, definitely keeping an eye on that. You know, one thing that came up was we were looking at the trends. We keep an eye on, you know, through an internal mechanism, we keep an eye on any audit findings, and we are keeping an eye on the trends. And we've been looking at the trends sort of at a yearly basis, so 2021, 22, 23, and we saw changes within it. But the last year, within 6 months, there was a big change in that things improved significantly. But when you look at just the annual numbers, that's not really evident. So one of the things to consider, and if anybody in the board has any opinion about that, please do let us know, is to have every 6 months so that we can look at the trend at a more, you know, at a closer level so that we can see, you know, improvements as we had in 2023. So, so I think that that's about all. I don't think I have anything else.
Okay, great, thank you. Move on to our students.
First, I have to say, Howard, senior editors, I'm with you. Noah and I, collaborating with the National Honor Society, began the process of putting up posters with links to the new Google form. There are still areas we haven't been able to place posters, but the process has begun and we should see more responses on the form because of that. Also this week, we have concerts at the high school. This Wednesday, stage band, chamber strings, symphonic band, and string orchestra will be performing. And on Thursday, jazz ensemble, concert band, and symphonic orchestra will be performing. Noah is in both of those concerts. So
I got a big agenda. Yeah, so yeah, I am in jazz ensemble and symphonic band, so I will be there tomorrow and Thursday night. But yeah, speaking of student feedback, I've actually personally received some besides like the form. I've actually a student came up to me today talking about like lunch, like making lunch cheaper for students. So I'm gonna get hopefully more feedback besides just using the QR codes. But also my AP Lang class has been working on a research project uncovering diversity in American schools. And I was working on the SAT prep course and how that can be really beneficial in preparing students for the SAT. And next week, next Monday and Tuesday, I believe, everyone's going to present in the, I think, library or gym during school, but I think anyone can come, so that can be a really good opportunity to get student feedback. And we also be able to talk with the students and discuss their ideas. So I think that can be a good opportunity too. Yeah, and tickets for Oklahoma or I believe on the Niskayuna webpage, but also, again,
Celtics4u.com
yeah, and they're on Facebook and Instagram if you have those too.
for the number, not for FO.
I also relate with Howard with the senioritis, got to add that on with the second semester starting. So I have pretty trivial things to report on. Tomorrow up until noon, we do have the the Pay Less for the Dress event with 99.5 The River, so I'm very excited about that actually. We had pretty good feedback or like announcements, like we had the morning announcements about it. And during lunch, a lot of the lunch monitors have also just like come up to me and be like, hey guys, don't forget. And so I'll be dropping off my old prom dress, which is really great. And I just think like that's such a beautiful like way to help everyone around, because I feel like even last year when I was a junior, like around this time, I was already worried about like what dress I'm gonna get for prom. So it's nice to be able to do that without worrying about cost, especially because that's a big thing. Some more updates is just the phone policy, because I feel like that was pretty big in the beginning of the year and we kind of jumped ahead. So I touched base with a couple of my teachers and it seems like all is going pretty well. The phone pockets aren't really used, if rarely. And it seems like just if it's a block class, just in between the mods, which is 5 minutes, teachers will give students like times to check their phone or like go to the bathroom, anything like that. And so they said like that's been pretty helpful. Phone usage during class has been pretty good. And then something that I talked to Mr. Momente about during our agenda review was just some feedback about having to get bathroom passes or like 2 students from the same class not being able to use the bathroom at the same time. But that's again on more of like a teacher to teacher, class to class basis rather than like universal school rule. And so there's just been some annoyance about that, but that's it for me.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your perspective is always important for us to hear. Nothing's trivial, just so you know. So nothing that you bring forward to us is trivial. It's all very important to us. So thank you. And so we'll move to reports and recommendations, and we're going to begin tonight with the draft 24-25 district calendar.
Thank you. We've included the draft for the board's review and consideration. There's no action requested this evening. The draft calendar for next academic year is aligned with the Capital Region BOCES calendar, which is important particularly in programs where we share students for career and technical education and special education. It also has been designed to meet the various contractual obligations that we have across our employee bargaining units. During this period of review, we'll be sharing it with the Board of Education. It's posted for public inspection and comment, and we'll also be sharing it with the association leaders for our employee associations. The intent would be to bring a revised draft with any corrections or changes and to ask the board to adopt it when you meet later in February.
And I see this includes Lunar New Year. Thank you very much.
It does. So beginning with the 24-25 academic year, Lunar New Year is a statewide recognized school holiday. And that is a date that classes cannot be in session for students and that cannot be counted as a superintendent's conference day for staff.
With the question mark.
Probably,
Offices closed.
we are still looking into our bargaining unit language for 12-month employees. I can tell you right now across the region, very varied among schools in terms of those that are recognizing it as a district holiday for all staff versus a work day for 12-month staff. So right now, it is definitely a day not in session for 10-month staff and for students.
So we should, sure everybody gets the day off.
Is that in the form of a motion?
I'm mad if I'm the only one going into the office.
Yeah, I think what we're doing because of the way our management confidential and our 12-month collectively bargain staff contracts read, the recognition of additional holidays is something that we really look at very carefully. The question mark means it's under consideration but not decided. But certainly, if the board has other feedback on that, that would be most welcome.
Give them the day off, man.
You heard it here first, John. But seriously, any other feedback on the calendar, feel free to reach out to Cynthia or to me. And again, we'll have some feedback from this from our employee associations by the time you meet next.
I actually have a question just about, so over the course of a couple of years, we've had additional state mandated holidays that students cannot be in session, schools can't be open. And I know you've talked a lot about advocacy at the state level. Is there any discussion about how that impacts districts' calendaring, the 180-day rule, all of that? Or is it really not become an issue yet?
It's not an issue in next year's calendar because of the way the opening of school and the last date of regents are scheduled. If you take a look at this calendar, you'll see that the last rating day is June 27th, which is probably one of the latest days that public schools in New York have been in session in a very long time. So the state is compensating by extending the bookends, if you will. And our bookends are that student days cannot begin before September 1st and cannot go beyond the last date of the June Regents exam. So in years where Labor Day falls differently, it could become more challenging because so many employee labor contracts stipulate Labor Day as the official start of the school year as opposed to September 1st. So I think it has the potential to be problematic. Schools do have flexibility in terms of their December, February, and April recess periods, but I do think the legislature is understanding that they might want to be a little bit more deliberate in their consideration of additional school or statewide holidays, and not to make any additional changes until they've contemplated the regulations regarding 180 day. At least that's the message that we've had in our advocacy meetings with local members of the legislature and members of the Senate Education and Assembly Education Committees.
Great, thank you. All right, so we're going to move on to the 24-25 budget development. Tonight, we're going to talk about the maintenance of effort budget.
Thank you. Good evening. As we move through the budget process here, this is an important milestone, our maintenance of effort budget. Just for some context or background, districts at times have referred to this point in the process as a rollover budget. We went to the nomenclature of a maintenance of effort budget last year because we really feel like that more adequately captures where we are. We're not simply rolling over, but we're really trying to capture in this document all of the known costs for next year to continue all current programs, services, and staffing. And that's what this does, and that's what this represents. So I won't go line for line, but we looked at insurance, fuel, utilities, certainly our benefits and all of our contractually negotiated agreements to arrive at what we have here for us tonight. We'll look at a later point in the process at budget requests for next year. We are just wrapping up a series of productive conversations, budget conferences with our program leaders and principals. And so we'll fold those in later in the process, but it's really helpful at this point to last time we looked at our budget assumptions. Now we've really gotten into kind of on a line by line basis of what we'll need to continue everything we're currently doing next year. So again, as a dollar figure, the highest increase is in the instruction area, probably no surprise there, and that accounts for both general education, special education, as well as all of our student support services, counselors, social workers, psychologists, as well as extracurriculars and athletics. Looking down toward the bottom, one thing I wanted to highlight in particular is our debt service is decreasing. So it's expected to go down $2.2 million next year. And that's very purposefully timed with as we pay off projects from the 2006-2007 period, and the aid is phased out for those projects. So while we're looking at a decrease in our debt service, we're also looking at a decrease in the state aid that we'll have next year to come out at that local share that's stable. So we're working very closely with our financial advisors to have that stable local share. So when we talk about kind of smoothing out our debt service, what we're really talking about is timing, state aid, and our debt service so that the impact to taxpayers is mitigated. So what you'll see over the coming years, we'll see the debt service budget grow as we take on debt for current projects, but we'll also see more state aid come to the district, so we achieve that smoothing out effect. What you see here includes all projects currently on the books, so it doesn't include anything related to next week. Again, we'll continue to work with our financial advisors on that, but wanted to give a snapshot of where we are and highlight that in particular. On the bottom, you'll see current year total general fund budget is about 107.8 million. Next year, just maintenance of effort, strictly speaking, we'd be at a little under 109.3 million. And as an increase, that's 1.36%, which is historically low. If you back out the debt service budget, because we know we have that significant change there, you'll see an increase that's much more in line with historic experience for maintenance of effort budget, especially because we know the inflationary pressures that, you know, we're all dealing with, and the school district is no different. So we presented the assumptions last time and we talked about revenue. No real changes on the revenue front at this point. We're continuing to follow the state budget process. Our tax cap calculation is due to be submitted to the state comptroller on March 1st. So when we meet and bring back a first draft budget on February 27th, we'll have information about that tax cap calculation. We don't expect to have a lot more information on the state budget, given that it's not due until April 1st, but we'll be able to report on any developments there. So, you know, where we are at this point in the process, we've got every known cost of current program services and staffing accounted for next year. We are in a position, based on the revenue factors that I shared last time, to look at those requests that we've been working through with our program leaders and bring forward to the board on February 27th, kind of a first look at some potential new investment for next year. So, and then over the course of the next couple of meetings, we'll kind of refine what we're able to bring forward, get some feedback from the board to reach further decision points in the budget process. So in a good spot at this point, with more conversation to come beginning February 27th.
Question about, so I look at the right column, the percent change, and almost all makes sense, fits inflation, you know, as it should, but that's really should be the only change in numbers, except the biggest part, which is the faculty barely budgets at all. Is it because we have such a new cohort, or say a big cohort of new faculty and retired a bunch of high paid? I feel like that's that step raises alone should jack that up.
I think there's probably two factors there, because that is spread across teaching regular school, teaching special programs, and then pupil services. So you have a 9%, 6%, and then 0.52. So I think it does even out when you look across all of those. The other thing that we did do as we went through this kind of early part of the budget process, because this is not just salary, but this is all costs. We took a really close look at contractual equipment, materials, and supplies at historical spending for recent years, and brought forward allocation models to each program in each school that did result in some adjustment there. But I want to kind of caution when I say that is it did result in a downward adjustment, but it was no change in what would be available. It was simply based on historic. And then we had the conversation about what's needed for next year. And the whole idea there was to say, you know, what are we spending historically in these areas, so that as we talk through, and we are talking through staffing requests for next year, we have the capacity to consider those rather than roll forward lines that we may not be using as much.
And I may have misunderstood. I interpreted teaching as teachers, but it's really teachers plus Bunsen burners and duds.
It's all general education expenses. Yeah. Yeah, and it's a pretty, just on the personnel expense side, I can tell you, or personnel expenses side of the budget, our financial accounting software allows us to capture the contractual salaries and roll them right into our budget planning module. So far more than estimate, this is actually a precise employee by employee salary calculation. So we are capturing the full increases for each of those units contracts. Oh, yeah.
Special items, insurance, sewer, water, what happened there? I mean, it's not a huge item looking at the entire budget, but did we get like some extra, something that we have an 11.25% increase?
I think if you look there, I mean, sewer and water, of course, wanting to be prepared for the expenses that come along there. And then in terms of insurance, I just know that one of the trends, of course, we're not talking about health insurance now, which is down with employee benefits, but one of the trends generally in the insurance industry are increased costs. And there's a lot of different factors through in the industry for that. That's one area where we don't have our renewal for next year yet. We could potentially fine tune that as we go through the process, but at this point, wanting to be sure that we're able to accommodate where we land there.
I think too, in that category, we're probably capturing some of the cost for newly added cyber security and data security insurance protections. And that's really a win-win situation because we're insuring against potential losses, but the checklist of required safeguards that have to be in place to be eligible for that insurance have actually improved our overall data and internet security for students, staff, and visitors. And I think that's captured there as well. Yep.
So in this basket, it's mainly the insurance that is responsible for the increase.
Yes.
Yes.
Also, there's a leaky faucet.
Those toilets, yeah.
Are there any other questions or concerns? All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We look forward to hearing the next round. So now we'll move on to the appointment of capital project referendum personnel.
Move that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to appoint the attached named individuals to act as clerk, chairperson, chief election inspectors, and election inspectors for February 13th, 2024 capital project referendum.
Seconds, any discussion?
While we vote on that, should we also put the contingent date in there? Or are we sure that February 13 is not going to be a snow day?
I don't know the protocol for
So we don't have to vote again.
Before then.
do we know what the contingent date?
The contingent date is the 15th.
Yeah.
The forecast as of 10 a.m. this morning is for light snow 1 to 3 inches on Monday, the 12th, and warmer temperatures on Tuesday, the 13th. But the 15th is the contingent date. Certainly the board could amend this recommendation to include that.
Sure. I think something will have to be done with the motion that's already on the table.
Put it down.
All in favor?
I guess no.
So, okay.
In favor of voting
Sorry.
it down, yes.
Yes, because
Double negative.
this motion without the amendment is on the table. So now we have to vote it down. And then we'll have a new motion with the amendment proposed, and then we can vote on that.
Yes.
So we're going to vote opposed to this. Okay, so all in favor? All opposed? Okay, the motion is defeated 7-0.
We have no capital project.
Now we're gonna have another motion. Alia, if you would like to go ahead with your amendment to the motion.
Move that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to appoint the attached named individuals to act as clerk, chairperson, chief elections inspectors, and election inspectors for February 13, 2024 capital project referendum or the contingent date of February 15, 2024 capital project referendum.
Howard seconds. Are all in favor? Aye, the amended motion carries 7-0. Okay, so we'll move along to the adoption of extraordinary circumstances amendment to the video conferencing under Public Officers Law 2022, Chapter 56.
Move that the Board of Education may adopt the following resolution to authorize members of the Board of Education to attend meetings by video conferencing under extraordinary circumstances per section 103A of chapter 56 of the Public Officers Laws of 2022.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, that motion carries 7-0. Move to draft workplace violence prevention plan. This is a first read. So as usual with the first read, just encourage you to take a look. If you have any questions, concerns, make sure you address those with the Board and Policy Committee. Move to 2F, which is this we're adopting tonight, right? So it's not really a draft,
It
right?
is being presented for adoption.
Okay. All right, so policy 6220, substitute teachers. This is a second read. May I have a motion?
Move the Board of Education by the recommendation of superintendent of schools adopt policy 6220 substitute teachers and repeal 1996 policy 9270.1 substitute teachers.
Second it.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, that motion carries 7-0. Next, we have an update to policy 7110, the comprehensive student attendance. This is our third review.
Move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, adopt the marked up revisions to policy 7110 comprehensive student attendance.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I just wanted to point out that we did change that one paragraph at
Yes.
your request.
Yes, that's-
Okay, all right.
Yeah, thank you. I did read that and thank you also for the highlighters and everything else.
Cynthia.
Judy did that on each person's computer
That's
before
right,
you all got here.
And then we're changing the document, the highlighter is still there.
That's fine. No, I think, thank you to the policy committee for, listening to members' concerns. I think the language that has been amended addresses the concern. And so, thank you, Alia, for bringing that forward to everyone's attention. All right, all in favor? Okay, motion carries 7-0. We'll move to the repeal of policy 5155, student withdrawal from school.
Move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, repeal 1996 policy 5155, student withdrawal from school.
Seconds, is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, that motion carries 7-0. Does anybody have any items to remove from the consent agenda? All right, hearing none, may I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
Move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, approve the items B through H in the consent agenda for ASM 4A.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Are we having a discussion? Oh,
Consent.
Not a consent agenda. Because
okay. I just want to make sure that one item I brought up got corrected. That was my one question.
It did.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Did you vote?
not yet. We didn't, we usually don't.
We didn't
Yeah,
take the
no,
vote,
go ahead.
so-
Gotcha. Yeah, so thank you for highlighting. We are super excited to be appointing coaches to our flag football program that is recognized by the state of New York as a girls interscholastic athletic program. And so we've adjusted the titles of those positions, Judy, to reflect that.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And as well as we're discussing consent agenda, I will just acknowledge that we have several members of our wonderful staff who have announced their retirements, who we will be voting on this evening, and just, I won't name them all, but thank them very much for their service to the district, and they will be honored at a later time. All right, all those in favor? Aye, motion carries 7-0. We do need to convene into executive session, but there will not be action after. So we will end the public portion of the meeting now and we will adjourn after that. But may I have a motion to enter into executive session?
Move the Board of Education by the recommendation of superintendent of schools convene to executive session to discuss two specific personnel matters and one legal matter.
Sarah seconds. All in favor? Aye, that motion carries 7-0. All right, thank you, everyone.